Stress is not your enemy. It feels heavy, loud, and uncomfortable, but stress itself is not what harms you. What harms you is how you see it. The mind decides whether pressure becomes a burden or a tool. When you learn to guide your thoughts, stress changes from something that breaks you into something that builds you. Stress grows strongest when the mind tries to control everything at once. Much of what causes anxiety comes from confusion about responsibility. You wake up thinking you must manage outcomes, opinions, timing, and results, and the weight of that false duty creates tension. The first step toward strength is clarity. Some things depend on you, and many things do not. Your thoughts, your actions, your effort, your choices, and your values belong to you. Other people's reactions, delays, mistakes, weather, luck, and final outcomes do not belong to you. When the mind mixes these two, stress takes over. Learning to control what depends on you is not about giving up. It is about directing energy wisely. When you focus on what is yours, you stop wasting strength on what you cannot move. You can decide to show up prepared. You can decide to act honestly. You can decide to remain calm under pressure. You cannot decide how others will judge you, or whether the world will reward you immediately. When you accept this difference, your mind becomes lighter, because it no longer fights battles it was never meant to win. Most stress comes from attachment to results. You work hard and demand certainty. You try your best and still fear failure. This fear grows when you believe success must happen a certain way. But success is not the outcome alone. Success is acting with discipline regardless of outcome. When you shift your focus to effort instead of results, pressure transforms into purpose. You stop asking if things will work out and start asking if you are doing your part well. Control begins internally. You may not control what happens today, but you always control how you respond to it. A delay can bring anger or patience. A mistake can bring shame or learning. An insult can bring rage or silence. Each moment offers a choice. The calm mind understands that reactions are habits, and habits can be trained. By choosing restraint again and again, stress loses its ability to command you. Daily practice strengthens this control. Start small. Control your morning routine. Control your attention by limiting distractions. Control your words by speaking only when necessary. These simple acts build trust in yourself. When pressure arrives, your mind remembers that it has been here before and survived. Confidence grows not from easy days, but from moments when you stayed steady despite discomfort. When you stop trying to control everything, you gain control where it matters most. You gain control over your peace. You gain control over your character. External events no longer dictate your inner state. This does not mean you stop caring. It means you care wisely. You give effort without desperation. You work without panic. You plan without fear. Letting go of what you cannot control is an act of strength. Weakness clings and resists reality. Strength adapts and moves forward. When something falls outside your power, you accept it fully and return your focus to what remains in your hands. This acceptance removes unnecessary tension and clears the mind for better decisions. Stress fades when responsibility is clear. You stop blaming yourself for things beyond you and stop waiting for others to change. You become self-directed. Each day becomes simpler. There is work to do, and you do it. There is effort to give, and you give it. Everything else is noise. By mastering this separation, the mind becomes firm and calm. Pressure no longer feels personal. Challenges no longer feel unfair. Life becomes a series of tasks, each met with reason and discipline. When you control what depends on you and release what does not, stress has no place to settle, and action becomes clean, focused, and steady. Stress often wins because it pushes the mind into speed. It demands an instant answer, a sharp reaction, a fast defense. When pressure rises, the body tightens and the thoughts rush forward without order. In that moment, most mistakes are born. The habit of reacting without pause turns small problems into lasting damage. Learning to pause before reacting is not weakness. It is discipline. It is the skill of slowing the mind when everything around you feels urgent. A pause creates space. Even a short moment of silence gives the mind time to regain balance. When you pause, you separate feeling from action. Emotions arrive quickly, but they do not have to command you. Anger, fear, and frustration are signals, not orders. By stopping for a breath, you remind yourself that you choose your response. This small delay often changes the entire outcome of a situation. Many people believe strength means immediate reaction. They think quick words and fast decisions show confidence. In truth, real strength shows itself in restraint. A calm response under pressure carries more weight than any loud reaction. When you pause, you see the situation more clearly. You notice details that emotional speed hides. You hear what is actually being said instead of what you assume is meant. Pausing also protects your character. Words spoken in haste often carry regret. Actions taken in anger often create problems that last longer than the emotion itself. The pause acts as a filter. It removes unnecessary damage before it happens. Over time, this habit builds trust, both with yourself and with others. People learn that you do not act from impulse, and you learn that you can handle stress without losing control. The pause is not long or dramatic. It can be as simple as one deep breath, a count to 3, or a brief moment of silence. What matters is intention. You choose to stop. You choose to observe. In that moment, the mind steps out of chaos and into order. The body relaxes. The heart rate slows. Thought returns. This practice becomes more powerful when trained daily. Pause before responding to messages. Pause before giving an opinion. Pause before making a decision. Each time you do this, you strengthen the mind's ability to stay calm under pressure. Stress becomes familiar rather than overwhelming. The mind learns that urgency does not equal danger. Pausing does not mean avoiding action. It means acting with clarity. After the pause, you still move forward, but now your actions are deliberate. You speak with purpose. You choose the response that aligns with your values instead of your emotions. This turns stressful moments into opportunities to practice self-control. Over time, the pause becomes automatic. Situations that once triggered strong reactions begin to feel manageable. You notice that fewer things disturb your peace. This is not because life becomes easier, but because you become steadier. The pause gives you power over yourself, and self-control is the highest form of control. When pressure comes, the pause reminds you that nothing external can force you to lose composure. The world may move fast, but your mind does not have to follow. You decide the pace of your response. In that choice, stress loses its urgency and transforms into focus, allowing you to act with reason, calm, and quiet strength. Stress often feels like an enemy because the mind labels it as danger. The body tightens, thoughts become heavy, and the situation feels threatening. But stress itself is not harmful. It is information. It appears to draw attention to something important. When you begin to see pressure as guidance rather than harm, its power over you changes. Instead of pushing you into fear, it points you toward growth. Every feeling of pressure carries a message. It may be telling you that preparation is needed, that effort must increase, or that focus has drifted. Stress highlights gaps between where you are and where you want to be. When you listen calmly, it shows you exactly what needs work. Ignoring or resisting this signal only increases discomfort. Understanding it brings clarity. Many people fight stress because they believe it should not exist. They see it as a flaw or a weakness. This belief creates inner conflict. The mind argues with reality and wastes energy. Acceptance does not mean enjoyment. It means recognition. Stress is part of responsibility. It appears when something matters. The presence of pressure often confirms that your actions have meaning. Seeing stress as guidance changes your questions. Instead of asking why this feels difficult, you ask what this situation requires from you. Does it require patience, preparation, courage, or discipline? This shift moves the mind from complaint to action. Stress no longer feels like a wall. It becomes a direction. Pressure also teaches limits. It shows where habits are weak or where boundaries are unclear. If stress appears often, it may be guiding you to simplify, to rest, or to organize better. The mind that listens grows stronger. The mind that resists stays trapped in the same patterns. When you treat stress as guidance, you stop personalizing it. It is not an attack, it is a reminder. Just as physical pain warns the body, mental pressure warns the mind. This perspective removes shame and fear. You no longer see stress as proof of failure. You see it as feedback. This approach builds resilience. Each time stress appears, and you respond with understanding, you gain experience. You learn how pressure feels and how to move through it. Over time, familiar stress loses its intensity. What once overwhelmed you becomes manageable because you recognize the signal and know how to respond. Guidance requires attention. You must slow down enough to observe what stress is pointing toward. Rushing to escape the feeling hides the lesson. Staying present allows insight to surface. You begin to notice patterns. Certain tasks, people, or habits consistently create pressure. This awareness gives you choice. Stress also reveals priorities. What you care about creates tension. What you ignore does not. This knowledge helps you decide where to invest energy. When something no longer aligns with your values, stress becomes a signal to adjust direction. When something matters deeply, stress becomes a call to prepare more fully. By changing your relationship with stress, you remove its power to control you. You no longer fear its arrival. You welcome the message and act accordingly. This calm acceptance transforms pressure into purpose. The mind becomes steady, focused, and alert. Stress stops being an obstacle and becomes a guide, leading you forward with clarity and intention. Comfort makes the mind weak when it becomes a habit. When life feels easy for too long, the mind forgets how to endure. Small challenges begin to feel heavy, and pressure feels unfamiliar. Stress then arrives not because life is unbearable, but because the mind has not been trained to carry weight. Training the mind through discomfort is the process of rebuilding strength by meeting difficulty on purpose. Discomfort does not need to be extreme to be effective. It only needs to be consistent. Waking up when you want to stay in bed, completing tasks when motivation is low, staying calm when irritation appears, these moments quietly strengthen the mind. Each time you choose effort over ease, you remind yourself that you are capable of more than comfort suggests. The mind learns through repetition. If it is trained only in ease, it will panic under pressure. If it is trained in difficulty, it remains steady when stress appears. This is why voluntary discomfort is powerful. When you choose hardship instead of waiting for it, you control the lesson. You build tolerance without fear. Stress becomes familiar rather than overwhelming. Discomfort also sharpens focus. When conditions are too easy, attention drifts. When something feels difficult, the mind wakes up. Training through discomfort teaches you how to stay present, even when things feel unpleasant. Instead of escaping the feeling, you observe it. You learn that discomfort rises, holds, and then fades. This understanding removes fear from future challenges. Many avoid discomfort because they confuse it with harm. Discomfort is not damage, it is resistance. Just as muscles grow by lifting weight, the mind grows by carrying strain. Avoiding all discomfort keeps the mind small. Facing controlled difficulty expands its capacity. This training begins with simple choices. Take the harder path when it serves growth. Sit with silence instead of distraction. Finish what you start even when enthusiasm fades. These acts are quiet victories. No one sees them, but they shape your character. Over time, you begin to trust yourself more. You know that when things get hard, you will not run. Discomfort also reveals weakness without judgment. When something feels too heavy, it shows where strength is missing. This is useful information. Instead of criticizing yourself, you adjust. You practice more. You prepare better. Stress stops being an enemy and becomes a measurement of readiness. The trained mind does not seek pain, but it does not fear it either. When discomfort arrives unexpectedly, it feels familiar. The body tightens less. The thoughts stay clearer. You recognize the sensation and remain composed. This calm presence allows better decisions under pressure. Training through discomfort builds patience. Many stressful situations cannot be fixed quickly. Waiting, enduring, and staying steady are skills learned only through practice. By staying with discomfort instead of escaping it, you strengthen your ability to remain calm over time. As this habit grows, comfort loses its control over you. You no longer depend on ideal conditions to function well. You can work when tired, stay calm when criticized, and remain focused when things do not go as planned. Stress becomes another form of resistance, not a threat. The mind that has been trained through discomfort carries itself differently. It does not rush. It does not panic. It moves forward step by step, grounded in the knowledge that it has endured before and will endure again. In this way, discomfort becomes a teacher, shaping discipline, patience, and inner strength through repeated exposure and deliberate choice. Much of stress is not created by events, but by desires. The more you demand from life, the heavier each moment becomes. Wanting constant comfort, praise, certainty, and approval places the mind in a fragile position. When these wants are not met, stress appears. Simplifying desires is not about living without ambition. It is about removing unnecessary weight from the mind. Every expectation creates a condition for peace. When you expect people to understand you, delays to disappear, or outcomes to arrive quickly, you tie your calm to forces outside your control. This creates tension. By reducing expectations, you free yourself from constant disappointment. You allow events to unfold without emotional struggle. Simplifying desires begins with awareness. Notice what you believe you must have to feel calm. Approval, recognition, success, comfort, or certainty often sit quietly in the background of stress. When these are threatened, anxiety rises. Question these needs. Ask whether they are essential or simply habits of thought. Many desires lose their power once examined. The mind becomes lighter when it wants less. Fewer desires mean fewer disappointments. When you stop needing praise, criticism loses its sting. When you stop needing comfort, hardship feels manageable. When you stop needing certainty, uncertainty becomes tolerable. Stress feeds on attachment. Removing attachment weakens it. This practice also builds independence. A person who depends on little can function anywhere. You are no longer controlled by mood, environment, or opinion. Your stability comes from within. This inner independence creates quiet confidence. You move through challenges without demanding that circumstances change first. Simplifying expectations does not mean lowering standards of effort. You still work hard. You still act with discipline. The difference is that you no longer demand specific rewards. You focus on what you give, not what you receive. This shift transforms work into practice rather than pressure. Many stressful thoughts begin with the word should. Things should be easier. People should behave differently. Results should come faster. Each should is a silent demand placed on reality. When reality refuses, stress follows. Releasing these demands allows you to meet situations as they are, not as you wish them to be. The simpler the expectation, the steadier the mind. Expect effort, not comfort. Expect challenge, not ease. Expect uncertainty, not control. When these become your baseline, stress loses its surprise. You are no longer shocked by difficulty. You are prepared for it. Reducing desires also sharpens gratitude. When you want less, what you have feels sufficient. Small progress feels meaningful. Quiet moments feel rich. Gratitude stabilizes the mind and protects it from constant dissatisfaction. This approach changes how you relate to success. Success no longer defines your worth. Failure no longer defines your limits. Both become experiences rather than judgments. Stress fades when identity is not tied to outcomes. As expectations soften, the mind stops resisting reality. Energy returns. Focus improves. You act with clarity instead of urgency. Life feels less heavy, not because problems disappear, but because the mind is no longer crowded with demands. By simplifying desires and expectations, you create space for calm. Stress has fewer entry points. Peace becomes easier to maintain, even in difficult conditions, because the mind is no longer asking life to be something it is not. Obstacles are often seen as interruptions, something that blocks progress and delays success. This belief creates frustration and stress. When the mind expects a clear path, any resistance feels unfair. Turning obstacles into practice changes this view. Instead of seeing problems as barriers, you treat them as training. Every difficulty becomes a chance to strengthen a specific part of the mind. An obstacle reveals what is missing. It may show a lack of patience, planning, courage, or discipline. This information is valuable. Without resistance, weakness stays hidden. Pressure brings it to the surface. When you face an obstacle calmly, you gain awareness of where growth is needed. Practice means repetition. Obstacles repeat because lessons repeat. The same type of challenge appears until the mind learns how to respond correctly. When you complain, the lesson returns. When you avoid, it waits. When you practice, progress begins. Each obstacle is an exercise designed to build resilience. Turning obstacles into practice removes emotion from the situation. You stop asking why this is happening and start asking what skill is being trained. A delay trains patience. Criticism trains humility. Failure trains persistence. Conflict trains self-control. When the mind frames problems this way, stress loses its emotional charge. Practice requires presence. You cannot learn if you are lost in frustration. Staying present allows you to respond deliberately. You slow down, assess, and choose. This calm approach prevents mistakes caused by haste or anger. Obstacles also teach adaptability. Plans rarely unfold exactly as imagined. When something breaks or changes, flexibility becomes necessary. By practicing adaptability, you learn to adjust without panic. Stress often comes from rigidity, from insisting that things must happen a certain way. Practice softens this rigidity. Each obstacle strengthens confidence when handled well. You remember past challenges and how you survived them. This memory reduces fear of future difficulties. The mind learns that obstacles are temporary and manageable. Confidence grows not from comfort, but from repeated exposure to challenge. Seeing obstacles as practice builds consistency. Instead of giving up when things get hard, you stay engaged. You understand that discomfort is part of the process. This keeps you moving forward while others stop. Over time, this steady effort creates progress that feels quiet but powerful. Practice also builds humility. Obstacles remind you that you are always learning. There is no final stage where challenges disappear. This understanding removes pride and frustration. You accept that growth requires constant effort. When obstacles are treated as practice, comparison loses meaning. You stop measuring your path against others. Everyone has different lessons. Everyone trains different skills. This focus on your own practice keeps the mind centered and calm. Stress fades when obstacles are expected. You no longer feel attacked by difficulty. You feel prepared. Each problem becomes another repetition, another chance to improve. This mindset turns struggle into structure and chaos into order. By practicing through obstacles, the mind becomes stable under pressure. Problems no longer derail you. They refine you. With each challenge, you sharpen discipline, patience, and clarity, transforming resistance into steady progress and purposeful action.